The Black Information Network. Stay informed at BINnews.com.
Follow us on Facebook at The Black Information Network and tell your smart device to play The Black Information Network on the iHeartRadio app. The news Black America trusts.
The Black Information Network.
The power of information.
Keeping you up to date on the Black Information Network.
Born in 1891 and raised in Eatonville, Florida, Zora Neale Hurston is considered by many to be one of the foremost female writers of the 20th century. In 1918, Hurston began attending Howard University, where she co-founded the student paper, The Hilltop. A scholarship to Barnard College of Columbia University followed. She studied anthropology, ethnography, and played a major role.
The talk of Chicago is 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
The Wake Up Show, Chicago.
Rise and shine. It's the Wake Up Show, where every sunrise is a call to action. Powered by the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, we are the champions of change, advocating for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the world of corporate and government contracting. It's not just a show, it's a movement. So get ready for another dynamic journey as we wake up the world to a new era of opportunities and empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Iverson.
Hey, welcome to the Wake Up Show Chicago. Yes, you are tuned in here live right here from WVON Studios in Chicago with the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce bringing you the Wake Up Show Chicago. I'm your co-host, LaDonna Ray, and I am so excited about, I think I always say so excited. I often say that I'm going to replace that word with another word. But here's the thing. When you're working with the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, you really have no choice but to be excited. Larry Ivory, who is our founder, president, CEO, we don't call him Larry Ivory anymore. He is Dr. Larry Ivory. And in his absence last week, he was receiving his honorary doctorate, and we are so proud of him. But I want to make sure that you all know that our show is coming to you live for the purpose of enlightening you when it comes to Black business and the procurement, state contracts, access to capital, all kinds of things. And who's co-hosting with me today is the uncomparable Mr. Lorenzo T. Hughes.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yes, welcome to WVON.
All right. So each and every Saturday morning, we're here at 9 a.m. and we're coming to you with a heart of gold. And I say that because there's so much information that you can walk away with. But make sure you subscribe to our Wake Up channel, or should I say our YouTube channel. It's called The Wake Up Show Chicago. And that's where you will see the replays of these shows as well if you miss it. But it's always great to catch it live because you can call us at 773-591-1690. That gives you an opportunity to call in and interact and give your take or ask your questions. Now, as you know, our chairman of the board of the National Black Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C., he's not in today, but we're excited to welcome Dr. DeAndre Rucker, who is the owner of Rucker Holdings and chair of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce's Construction Committee. So he is joining us live right here, right now. Good morning, Mr. Rucker, or should I say Dr. Rucker?
Either way is good with me. How you doing this morning?
Doing super fantastic. Thank you so much.
Morning.
And what do you have for us today? Because I know that you came with a wealth of information. I know normally on Saturdays, aren't you doing something with the kids?
Yeah, usually it's football.
Right. I was like, I'm going to put you out there because you're an involved father and husband. And I just want everybody to know who Dr. Rucker is.
I appreciate that. But this morning we have something for the chambers, the construction committee from the chambers. It's just been a long time. Me, Larry, and some of the construction committee have been sitting around talking, and we wanted to start making moves and doing something about it. Making sure that empowering more Black businesses by advocating and making sure it's an opportunity to foster development for the construction industry. There's not enough of us getting these big contracts with IDOT, with CBD, with with the tollway. So now we'll put a committee together, and we're looking to move forward to help our African American brothers and sisters to build and get them contracts.
Yeah. And a lot of times our sisters and brothers don't necessarily know why they're not being selected or what they need to even qualify, or if they are a candidate for getting those state contracts.
And with that, one thing that we are dedicating in this committee we are going to commit to educating our members, and also making sure they have the opportunity. So let's just say if they don't have let's say for CHA, you have to be a Section 3 certified. If you don't have that, you don't know what that is. Being part of this committee or being part of this chambers will help you get that information and educate you, and we'll lead you down that road to help get some of these contracts and help be financially stable to make sure you can close the deal and also work the deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we also have on the line Aaron. Are you Aaron? Good morning.
Good morning, LaDonna. Are you guys able to hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Aaron, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are so that everybody knows who we have on the line?
Sure. Aaron Gunn here. I am a member of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce Construction Committee with Dr. Rucker. Dr. Rucker chairs that committee. My role in my professional life is I am the associate managing principal for IDG Plus Architects. We're a Black-owned architectural firm headquartered in Houston, Texas, but we have offices in Dallas, Texas, and also Peoria, Illinois, which is where I'm located.
Mm-hmm. And so with both of you all being on the construction committee, we hear the word construction and we think about contracted work, streets. And do we think about what happens with IDOT? Do we think about what happens when structures go up, buildings go up, or even when they come down? Can you give us some insight for those that don't understand what's involved when it comes to construction?
Sure. Dr. Ruck, I can take this if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, we'll break it up into phases to explain it. So essentially, when you talk about vertical construction, that's basically the construction of a building. There is the pre-construction phase, which involves the design phase and the planning phase, and that's where the professional services comes in: architecture, engineering, construction management, estimating. There's a lot that goes into planning a project, and depending on the scope or the complexity of the scope of the project, as well as the size of it or the dollar amount involved, the planning can be very intense, but also there's an opportunity to earn a lot of money if you're involved in the pre-construction process. And then after the pre-construction process is completed, typically, there will be either a bid process or some sort of selection process where a construction firm who would execute the plan or the drawings that were produced during the pre-construction process to see the structure be built. And a lot of our folks see that part of a project. You see the part where the building is actually being constructed. There's a lot involved in that, obviously, a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different trades that people can get involved with to basically gain experience and benefit from some of the wealth that's generated when large structures are built. There's also road construction. So when you talk about IDOT and the tollway, they do road construction, very similar process to the vertical construction where there's a pre-construction phase with a lot of planning and design work happening during that pre-construction phase. And then the actual road construction can get very specialized. There's definitely a huge opportunity on the road construction side of things with IDOT and the tollway. Some of that work is a little bit more specialized. You have to have some experience to participate in that. But that's a part of the reason why we formed this construction committee, so that we can help our members gain that experience, be prepared for those opportunities on both the vertical construction side and the roadway construction side.
I love it. And Dr. Rucker, I know you want to add to that, and then I just want to let our audience know what the chamber does.
No, I just wanted to add, it's time with them contracts, as Aaron explained, and as us being contractors, there's a difference between rich and generational wealth.
Mm.
You know, let's take a lot of these companies, a lot of these big companies. That's generational wealth that they created. That's legacy. With a lot of the jobs that they, and I want to say, hand pick and give to us, that just leave us rich, and being rich is just for a moment. You know, being rich is just when one of our relatives, when we pass, now they're fighting over the money. Instead of us having these big long-term contracts that's giving us generational wealth, that's leaving legacy for our people.
Yeah. Let that sit for a minute. Well, you know, in this segment today, that was so powerful. Look, Lorenzo's looking like, wait, I was gonna say something, but he sat back in his seat. I know he's coming back. But with you spoke about vertical construction, pre-construction phases, and I'm sure that a lot of our listening audience is like, wow, there is a lot that goes into these said phases, if you will. And so with our chamber, and this is not like an infomercial. I always say that. And Tommy, I see you holding on the line. But when it comes to the chamber, what the Illinois State Black Chamber is doing for our members, especially when it comes to our different committees, we're connecting those members, as you mentioned, Dr. Rucker, with those contracts. We're connecting members to contracts. And so when you actively help Black-owned businesses gain access to state, city, and federal contracts, whenever possible, especially in construction or professional services and technology, that's when we're working together. Now, there are moments when, you know, I look at Rutgers Holdings and Aaron, and I know about IDG, but when I look at Rutgers Holdings, you have a conglomerate of businesses and you focus on putting people to work. Can you kind of bring us back to the fold on how those contracts, how important those contracts are to even putting those workers into a better position financially?
Well, it's very important to us from the chamber's standpoint and my family. One thing me and my wife always strive on is making sure we're not alone in this. And what I mean by that is, if we got a construction company that we've been working with, and they might be a small mom and pop shop, but they got the experience. They know how to do the work. They've been down this road before, and it's been generations that pass on that skill. And with that skill set, they're just waiting on an opportunity to get that generational wealth. Mm-hmm. So it's important. And I always take it back to where we grew up at. I grew up on 110th and Racine. It's guys out there that has the skill set to go to that next level. It's guys that's living right now in the Racine course that has trades but don't have the opportunity to tap into their full potential. And that's important to us, because when you put somebody to work, that travels. So, you know, they always say pass it forward. That's passing it forward. Mm-hmm. So it might not be your moment where it's, hey, it's my time to get my generational wealth. But it might be somebody else's time to have a little bit more experience with you. And being part of this chamber and being part of that committee, it helps us get them with a capability statement. A lot of contractors don't know what that is. Making sure they have the right certification. Making sure we give them the education to move forward. We can't help those who don't want to help themselves. So the first thing is get them that education so they know when they step in that room, they know what it is. One thing we had a call the other day on the committee, and we spoke on, we don't want to make promises that we can't keep. Mm-hmm. So one thing that we said we was going to do, let's educate them first. Before we take them to the room, and you sit in the room with, let's say, an IDOT or a tollway, or let's just take one of the big construction companies to be a subcontractor or become a prime, you got to know exactly what you're talking about and what level you're talking on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can go all day about that,
but I want people to understand that there's prime and there's subcontractors. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are.
So in being a prime, it's like Can you explain that? Because I'm learning this as the chamber is explaining it. Because that's one thing that I like that Larry does. He makes sure that we have the right people in place so that we can learn and understand the terminology. But this explain the prime and the subcontractor.
So being a prime, basically, like, you control the contract. So if I'm the prime, I could bring in subs up under me. So a lot of us always are subcontractors. So we get, I hate to say it like this, but it's just the truth. We get the low hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Low hanging fruit of what?
So low hanging fruit, like, so we was looking at the other day, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a $9 billion contract with someone we was looking at, one of these agencies.
Yeah, that's correct.
They had a $9 billion contract, and if I'm not mistaken, our Black businesses only received maybe a couple of $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So for a $9 billion contract, Black people only got a couple of $100,000.
You
it's a
talking about as a prime,
$9 billion
though?
contract.
As a prime?
No, that's as a prime. The prime kind of get the most of the business.
So the prime
they
gets the $9 billion.
So yeah, let's just say the prime get the $9 billion, and they break it down to the subs.
And then we get a few pennies.
Yeah, because I think we was at, Aaron, on one contract we was only at 3%.
Yeah, 3-4. Yep.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's less than that. And what the issue is, when you talk about publicly funded projects, taxpayer funded projects, the issue is that oftentimes those projects do have a mandate where there are goals for participation from a bunch of different subgroups on those projects. So, for instance, there might be a 20% goal for minority business participation. A prime contractor is the contractor that holds the contract to execute that work with whatever agency is managing that project or funding the project. That prime contractor then hires subcontractors to do the different specialized trades within that contract that's required to do the work. A part of their responsibility is to hire a certain percentage, or typically a part of their responsibility is a certain percentage of their subcontractors should be minority businesses. And the Illinois State Black Chamber advocates for not just minority business participation, but Black business participation. There's also goals set for woman-owned business participation, which is great. However, our primary objective is Black-owned businesses. And what Dr. Rucker is pointing out is that oftentimes on those large-scale projects, the prime contractor holds that contract so they control which subcontractors they're going to utilize. And one, their objective is not to essentially put Black people to work or put Black businesses to work. Their objective is to reach that goal so that they can hold on to that contract or not catch any heat from any agency that says, hey, we have goals on this and we need you to meet them. So they'll meet the goal in any way that they can, typically. But that doesn't mean that they're doing business with Black folks. They could be doing business with any number of subgroups that qualify as a minority business, and that has that certification. Mm-hmm. And beyond that, oftentimes when they do business with Black folks or Black-owned companies, mm-hmm. we get the smallest share of the pie. And the statistics, the data is out there to prove that. Oftentimes, Black-owned businesses, even though we're probably the largest minority group in this state, I'm not sure about that. Hispanics may have overtaken us at some point, but nonetheless, Black businesses oftentimes get the smallest share of the pie on those large-scale projects. And our question to state agencies and our question to ourselves is, why is that? Because we pay taxes, we participate in funding these projects. There's a large Black population in this state. Why are we consistently getting the smallest share of these projects? And we need to change that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead. You guys are listening to the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce's The Wake Up Show Chicago, brought to you by Wind Creek Casino in Chicago, Southland. I want to take a caller really quickly. We've got Tommy. Hey, good morning, Tommy.
Good morning. Well, first of all, good morning, and most certainly, good morning to the WVON family.
Good morning.
To each one of you that are in that studio, I am 73 years old. My birthday will be on tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday,
This is with
Tommy.
no. It wasn't about all of that. This is about how are you living your life?
Mm-hmm.
Because the three of you, once again, when the Eternal is trying to reach his people, it always comes in three. There are two men and there is one woman in that studio. And she represents the greatest creation on the face of the earth and the most suffering of any humanistic form, as we know, called reality. So I ain't trying to get deep. Let's just get to the point. One, basically what you're saying to everyone here, because I am a contractor, have been one for over 25 years in this city with the Better Business Bureau, licensed, bonded. I can tell you upwards, backwards, forwards, inwards, outwards. What we have here is a total misunderstanding by not having the right people on and speaking, not because you or any of you in that studio have done anything wrong, because you are those watchmen for this generation, which is why it's so uninformed, ignorant, and these times have become completely dangerous with misinformation. Now, let me just close, because this ain't about me. This is about you. But because we have no respect, no cultural understanding of what is old, is why this new is so jacked up. I'm going to leave you with this. Unapologetically pro-Farrakhan, not a Muslim, had the opportunity to hear the Elijah Muhammad, have heard some of the greatest preachers on the face of this earth, including Reverend Donald L. Parson, right there on Halsted Street. Some of the greatest figures that you can even imagine to think of have come from this city, all black.
Well, Tommy.
And here we are at this moment. Let me just close with this. I'm going to close. Let me close. And I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Sure.
This is the moment. The moment, including this radio station, formed from an individual shaking his behind and had enough sense to recognize we are somebody. And I leave you with this. The general contractor gets the money. The question is, who is he? What is he? And what the hell is he made out of? Because if you got a $9 billion contract, for the love of God, people, hear me, and I am the prime, are you crazy? All I need to do is just get the cabinets. All I need to do is just get the decorum of the building. Now try that. And get some people who really have done this. No disrespect. I love you all. Mm-hmm. Goodbye.
Thank you, Tommy. Wow. Aaron, Dr. Rucker, I was going to slide in and break that up, but then he started making sense.
Look, I'm a realist.
That was a lot to digest.
There was a lot to digest.
I'm a realist. Has some experience, and more power to him, I guess.
Okay.
More power to that.
You guys know how I am, and I was gonna say something, but he do got a point, but that's our problem sometimes. Our problem sometimes is we don't come straight and say exactly what it is.
That's so true. So true.
Instead of beating around the bush, let's just get it out and say, hey, look, what do we need to do to become the prime so we can control the contract?
That's right.
And I give him, his sermon and everything. I understand that. But let's get to the point, and as they say, the meat on the bone. Like, what do we need to do? What education do we need to have? I get it.
What we need to do. We always say that.
And my thing is, and we do have, we do have a lot of African Americans or black contractors out here that's been around for years, 30, 40, 50 years. But why not share that knowledge with the new age so we can get them contracts and give it to them? You know, because just because you've been around for all them years, are you properly skilled with this? You know, because it's one thing to say, and I always say it's one thing to be book smart and it's one thing to be on the job working smart.
Yeah. Well, we got another caller. Let's go ahead and get Art. Good morning, Art.
Hey, what's going on, young people? How are you?
Doing well. How are you, sir?
All right. I'm gonna get straight. You know me. I'm gonna get straight to the point.
Right.
At the end of the day, when we're dealing with these larger contracts, when I hear about what goes on with the Obama Center and these black men and women have all the certification and all the things they need, they still find themselves behind the 8 ball and still can't produce. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, not they can't produce, but they still run into all these issues with they finances for people who owe them, and they end up getting in trouble. Number two, black men and women have to be prepared, and we have to prepare our family and children for these jobs. And drugs and alcohol, and no matter how many jobs out there, if you're not qualified, then it won't make any difference. Mm-hmm. And last point, I don't know why we don't reach for the lower branches. And I say this by saying that all these vacant properties all over the city of Chicago, Indiana, why won't we get something that we can obtain and control and build on? We can come together and buy all Indiana, blocks and blocks of property, train our own people to do the rehab work. Then you don't have to get in so much of this other stuff and obtain more of the resources quicker and faster. One, you're providing homes. One, you'll be building community. Two, you'll be building families. Three, you can control your own people. It's so many facets to home remodeling and rehab that it wouldn't take trying to go to the government and do all that. We can employ more people and get more done if we've done it on that level. We can even create our own union on that level. So I understand trying to do some of the big stuff and get into all that. I appreciate that. But I think that we need to get back to some really, not all of us, but majority of us get back to the basics if we're really going to build generational wealth for our family and whatnot, and focus on the black family. And may God continue to bless.
Thank you, Art. Dr. Rucker, Aaron, do you have a response for that gentleman?
I do. My family, we've been in real estate for a while. A lot of my friends in real estate. The problem with that, when the market crashed, it hurt a lot of people. So what I say with that is, and I'm not going to say just our culture, but back in the day, it was just about buy, flip, buy, rehab, flip. Now it's the birth program. We should be refinancing them properties to keep them properties within our family. The problem is you get rid of the property, so now you don't hold anything. And I understand exactly what the last caller said, but at the same time, we have to stick together. That's our biggest problem with our biggest legacy for us to control our own legacy is once one of us get ahead, it's another one of us pulling us down. So we have to make that alliance and say, hey, this is who is in our circle. Let's grow. So any negativity come in, we push it out. We only as strong as our weakest link that's in our circle.
That's right.
Well, it looks
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry. I know Minister Tommy just joined us, but go ahead, Aaron. Sorry about that.
No, my apologies. I definitely didn't mean to cut you off. But just to add on to what Dr. Rucker was saying and respond to the previous caller, I think with respect to development on the smaller scale of things, there's definitely an opportunity to do that. However, there has to be a well-defined plan that can be executed to build the type of generational wealth that we're referring to in order for that to work. So the first step, it's easy to have an idea, but it's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, is to develop that idea into an executable plan and bring the right type of people together with the right talent to execute that plan. So that's one thing that we as the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and the Black community in general, we need to have those internal discussions. You know, what are we aiming to do together? How can we develop a plan that's executable and bring the right folks to the table so that we can make something happen that's beneficial to everyone that's participating? But beyond that, we still have a responsibility, and quite frankly, so does any public funded entity. They have a responsibility to recirculate those tax dollars back into the Black community. Because as I said before, we contribute to these major projects. You know, I always say this, and I've said it in front of state agencies, public school boards. You know, there's a misconception, or maybe they just forget. Black people pay taxes too. We own property. We pay property taxes. We pay sales taxes. We pay gas tax. We fund these projects. The difference is when we're not able to participate at the level that we should participate in, those tax dollars leave our community and they never come back. There's no generational wealth, or there's no benefit to our community from those tax dollars. Other communities are benefiting from those tax dollars when they're able to obtain those major projects, whether they're participating as a prime or a sub. So that conversation, you can't be dismissive of that conversation. That conversation needs to happen. And for me, it's a priority.
Well,
the last thing I'll say is that with respect to, you know, contractors who are participating in some large scale projects, the previous caller was absolutely right. Oftentimes you run into all sorts of obstacles that it seems that other majority-owned companies don't run into. And that's something that needs to be addressed. You know, he mentioned the Obama Center. There's actually a pending lawsuit right now between the Black contractors who were leading that project and the A&E firm, which stands for Architectural and Engineering Firm, and the owner for a lot of things that happened. I'm not familiar with the details, but essentially, you know, construction is complex. A lot of people don't necessarily know that, but it's very complex. And just because you get a job doesn't mean you're going to make money. You can lose your shirt. And I think those Black contractors that are participating in the Obama Center project, I don't know the full details, but they are in a tough position right now, and they're trying to recoup some money that they've probably lost.
Well, Aaron, I want to get to our other guest because he's been holding.
Sure.
Minister Tommy.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for calling in. I see you on the hotline side, so I didn't want to just go at it like you were just another caller. Minister Tommy, tell us what your tell us about you.
Okay, my name is Minister Tommy Davis. I own TDR Construction Company. My family has been into construction for about 80 years and have done very well in other states besides Illinois. I am a friend of Dr. Rucker's and his friends that he have. We have been talking about a lot of things about what do it take for us to advance and create generational wealth within our families. And one of the main things I see from all my experience is, first of all, we have to know who we have in the boat with us, because some people can be rowing while the others are drilling holes. So that's one of our biggest problems, is knowing who we're working with. And then another thing that I find just scares a lot of people away is the finance part. I've been working with people like Jesse Martinez, Mark Fisher of the state of Illinois. And over the years, as I work with them, the main thing is, can we handle these big projects? Now, they have had me go and look at projects for $400 million, and there's no way that I can possibly do anything like that unless I have an alliance, which I have put together. And the state said it's one of the greatest they have ever seen, but it took me a lot of time to get the right people.
And did you miss a deadline? And did that cause an issue? I mean, once you finally got it together, did you miss the deadline? Why didn't you move? Did you move forward with it after you got everything together?
No, the reason I didn't was because I was uncertain who I had in the boat with. You know what I'm saying? You got to know who you have in the boat with you, because, like I said, some are drilling holes while others are rowing. But one of the things that I see is that
I have started an alliance. I'm working now with Pink Hard Hat Construction Company.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
quite sure you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
And also Element Construction Company, who just broke ground on UIC. Some of the greatest talent out there besides myself, and along with Dr. Rucker and several others. Now, what I see we need to do, first of all, is we're a dying breed, me and Dr. Rucker, and you other gentlemen on the line tonight, because what happens after us? Now, you say generational wealth. Okay, we get the money coming in, then what happens after we leave? You see what I'm saying? Because there's no trading. There's no traders out there. It's time for us to focus on the future, and what we need to do is start building and opening things like trade schools and get these young men to working with their hands, because they're brilliant.
Yes.
I minister to over 7,000 young men. I minister in the Cook County Jail, Lake County Jail. I'm on social media. Then they make me some type of celebrity. So I'm reaching out to the young people, and they don't feel that they're loved, and they don't feel that they have an opportunity. So once they get out here in these streets and this negativity draws them and drains them, then they're unbalanced. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn or where to go. But it starts at home. So working along with Dr. Rucker, we're going to try to make a change. I'm going to give everything I got to the day I leave here. So I just want to introduce myself and let you know where I stand on this. And I'm going to continue to move forward and learn more about what we need to do and work with the Chamber of Congress. See, I didn't know anything about that for years, and until I met Dr. Rucker.
Well, come
So
on
for
through.
hearing
We
me
would
out.
love to have you. And we're having a network meeting coming up May 29th at Dr. Rucker's spot in Calumet City. Dr. Rucker, I know he's going to tell us all about the location and the setup, but you can come out there, and it's free to register if you go to ilbcc.org, and there's opportunity to meet the people that we have on our membership committee and our membership team and our members. But it's just an opportunity for you to come out and see everybody, Minister Tommy.
Thank you.
And I'd
thank
like
you.
to
I
meet you because
appreciate
you
that.
call in all the time.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to leave you with, Dr. Rucker, tell you, I have friends with very deep pockets that don't mind helping minority small business contractors. And, it don't take a lot. And that's what scares us away from a lot of opportunities, because we think we don't have the money, but we have the resources. And my guys are ready to go. Is that correct, Dr. Rucker?
You're absolutely correct on that.
He put you on blast, Dr. Rucker. You could only say
He
yes.
did. He did. He did. With that being said, it's a big deal. And I was just listening to Tommy talk. The thing is with that as well, and I hate to say it, but it's so true, because it's. Bro, let me reverse something back. Tommy, I'm too young to be a dying breed. So hold on. let me go back on
Tell
that
the
real
truth,
quick.
shame the devil.
Let me go back on that real quick. The next thing is, it's not enough of us out here. When we get that money, we don't get back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And one thing we have to do is not just hold these big companies or other people. We have to hold ourselves accountable.
Wait, is somebody doing some
right.
construction right now? I hear it in the background.
Oh, that might be Tommy.
Oh, okay.
You know me, Dr. Rucker. I'm always on my grind. Sorry.
And I got a question.
But we have to we have to hold each other accountable to once that money come in, how are we giving back to our communities? And we did some research the other day. Ross make $5.4 billion annually.
Mm-hmm.
Annually. Some contractors out here ain't even touching a fraction of that. So how do we make sure and collaborate and put our money together and say, hey, like the last caller said, hey, let's go out here and buy some of these properties. Let's buy our blocks.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Let's not just be landlords, though. Let's make people their own entrepreneurs. How do we go about doing that? How do we go about getting them certified? How do we go about, like Tom said, putting enough people on the boat and making sure ain't nobody got no drill and everybody just rowing together?
Right.
Well, I know that we got just a little bit more time left, and Dr. Rucker, you know what, you got to come back for this would be part 10, right? It wouldn't be part 2. It would be part 10, because we got to keep the conversation going on construction. For real.
That's right. That's right.
For real.
And if I
But
can ask this
Lorenzo
question,
had a question.
real quick for you, Dr. Rucker, one of the ways that the chamber is helping Black businesses grow is through, real-time business support. Like, for example, like free assessment, grant opportunities, and strategy sessions through programs like the Business Emergency Room. Can you share with us and the audience how these services are helping our members move from survival mode to scaling mode, and why personalized support is so important for Black entrepreneurs?
Well, with that, it helps. The chambers help with that because now you can pick up a phone and call. Another thing that the chambers is aligned with is also Legal Shield. A lot of them don't have legal representation, so if something do like that happen with, let's say, the Obama Center, a lot can't afford, because now the contract then took all the money away. You don't have money to afford a legal help. With the chambers, and this, I'm gonna speak on my behalf. The chambers empowered me to become better than what I am. And what I mean by that is put me in that position and put me in them rooms to speak for our kind. Not just to build generational wealth for myself, but build generational wealth for those around me. See, and it becomes a chain reaction like the domino effect. One thing we say that we always say in a negative way that is also a positive way, we reap what we sow. Mm-hmm. That wasn't meant to be negative. We reap what we sow. If we giving back to those that help, we're gonna sow it back in. So the chambers gave me that. And then that's why I say, on my behalf, even with the emergency room, you could call in and speak to, let's say, Aaron. Hey, Aaron, I got a big project coming up. They asking for some architect designs. I don't know anything about it. Can you help me out? Now you in that circle. You on that boat with those that's able to help you out. And if you drown, and pick you back up.
All right.
Y'all gonna get me all into the zone.
We needed that.
I'm trying to relax right now.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get to a few more callers. We got Marcus. Good morning, Marcus.
Morning to you all.
Yes, sir. What's your question, sir?
My question is, it's kind of piggyback on what Art said. So we have a lot of empty lots. We have a lot of empty buildings, a lot of empty space. Mm-hmm. Is there any way that we can have someone that's been in the profession of a carpenter or electrician, just go ahead, workshop, get this building, get the storefront, and we can have students just come in. We can have anybody that want to come in and branch their horizons into the trades, and that's that. Because I see it all the time going up north, is one center, and it's not even affiliated with no school. They just went on ahead, build up the storefront, and it's like an electrician building, and they have a lot of students that's within that. So that's my comment.
Dr. Rucker, Aaron?
Well, what I think we should do is, we do, not to cut you off, Aaron, we do have some African American unions, some Black union shops. We might need to sit down with them and see what we need to do, because I know we just can't go in and start teaching electricity and carpentry. Let's try and get with some of the Black unions to start bringing that to our communities.
Agreed. That was going to be my comment. And there's some existing programs out there that can be utilized. We have one here in Peoria where it's ran by a Black man. He's from Indianapolis, and it's a national certification where they take kids either in high school or even at-risk youth who've been either kicked out of high school or maybe coming out of the juvenile detention center, and they put them through this program when they get them certified to take the next step into becoming an apprentice and learning that skilled trade, which is a career, so to speak. So there are programs out there that can be implemented. And what the previous caller was referring to, it definitely can be done. The question is, who's going to financially support it? Are we going to get support from the city, from the state, or are we going to have to support it ourselves? And that's the question.
Yeah, those are conversations that we have to have. Those are conversations we definitely have to have, because I agree 110% with that, and definitely with what Dr. Muhammad was saying. So I agree 110% with that. And I do have another question here real quick as we run down on time. It's like I heard you guys speak of redevelopment. When redevelopment is planned, how far in advance do like contractors informed of that redevelopment, and what type of relationships do you have to have, and does those relationships are those relationships generational as well? When we talk about generational wealth, those relationships that are developed or that we have.
That's a powerful comment, brother. That's because that's something that I think gets overlooked. Mm-hmm. And yes, those relationships are generational. And that's a part of the reason I believe that Black people or Black businesses have not been able to participate at the level which we're capable of. Because we've been kept out of the game so long, we've not been able to build those relationships over time. I mean, from the history of this nation, we all know it. And it is so critical for everyone to recognize that if you have been prevented from participating in building those relationships, gaining that experience, and basically being a part of the process for generations, you're not going to catch up in a matter of 30 or 40 years and say, okay, everything's equal now. Now we can move forward and everybody's going to be fine. It's not going to happen. So to answer your question, that generational relationship, that experience with from a prime to a sub, where the prime trusts the sub, and vice versa, where the sub trusts the prime, because we've worked together for generations. You know, our fathers did business together. Now the sons take over the companies, and their sons are comfortable with working with each other, and they don't stab each other in the back. Typically, that's something we don't have at a level we should have in our community.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to grab this other caller. Hey, Gilbert. Good morning.
Good morning to the WVON family. Thank God for Melanie Span Cooper and her husband Pierre. Good morning, all. Very interesting comments today on construction. There are stratums to it. The WVON family, that's just so intelligent. You have to have all that they talked about. I heard union. Well, we have one, Allied International Workers Union of America. You have to have elected officials who are community interested, like Alderman Ronnie Mosley, the 21st Ward, Donna Miller, Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller, Robin Kelly, and others. Then you have to have community-based contractors and organizations, like Amanda's Dependable Service, like LaJoby Mosley and Mosley Construction, like Calvin Bankhead and ICE Environmental, and others. Then you have to have community-based organizations, like the Maple Park Community Association, like the Morgan Park Roots. And so all of those things, not this or that, but this and that. And then you have to be able to have the most important part, community involvement from the people. All national politics are local. But thank you for taking my call. Wonderful show.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
I just wanted to add that you guys, I think one of the callers said in a triumphant, and which you have today, that clear messages are just that. All local politics, all national politics, all international politics come back to the communities and the people. Thank you for taking my call. You guys keep on doing the wonderful thing. And President Larry Avery, keep on doing what you're doing, sir.
That's what's up. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you so much. We're going to squeeze in one more caller with 60 seconds he has. Hi, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning.
60 seconds.
Yes, to the WVON family. I'm a retired electrician, Local 134, and I've gone the whole process going through construction. In the very beginning, just my own experience, education has to be first. Our children must be educated, and the Board of Education is not doing it. And I passed through that. I know for a fact that that's what's going on deliberately. So our quality churches must have their very own quality schools from kindergarten through college, 4 years college, and to be able to put young people through apprenticeship programs, get them into the apprenticeship programs. That's what will make the difference. Now by doing that, you will have qualified people to do whatever it is you need to have them to do. Start at the beginning.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Kevin. Thank you. We're gonna have to leave it right there. So yeah, I want to, Dr. Rucker, I want to end with, and Aaron, thank you so much for being on. I want to end with what we're doing on May 29th. You tell us the location. I know it's called Let's Chill and Grill. I'm already ready, but Dr. Rucker.
Yeah, me and my cousin, we own Let's Chill with our wives. It's 735 Torrance, Calumet City, Illinois. It would be from 6 to 9. Come out, be part of the chambers, hear what the chambers got going on. I think I know it'll be well worth the visit. We definitely be talking about rich versus generational wealth.
Yeah. And not just talking about it, being about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love.
I know we ain't got that long, but I want to talk about something real quick. So we read an article not too long ago. It's about inside the hidden private schools where billionaire kids are taught power, not math.
Yes.
Within this, it talks about what they learn in their schools. They're not teaching them algebra. They welcome to billionaire classes. Their kids is mastering how to control the government while the kids is solving for X. Their kids are learning how to control government.
Mm-hmm.
It's about destiny. The tuition, I think they were saying like $150,000 per year. But it's not just education, it's power grooming.
Yeah.
So they're not giving them education, send them to school to go and get a job. They grooming them to be in power.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there, Dr. Rucker. Closing words?
We need to put our kids into getting power.
Okay. I love it.
I'm just mad.
All right, Aaron, closing words?
I just want to thank you and your team, Dr. Rucker, for the opportunity to speak to some of these topics, and also to say that the construction committee is dedicated to working on the behalf and advocating for Black business participation, Black business utilization, and the upliftment of our community. And that's our mission, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And we're taking actions. We're not just talking about it. We're taking actions, and we're going to continue to take those actions until we get the results we aim to get.
All right. Well, we're going to have to leave it right there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on the Wake Up Show Chicago. This has been an empowering show, as usual. I just want to say huge thank you again to Dr. DeAndre Rucker, the chair of the Construction Committee for the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, and for dropping those powerful gems about building real wealth through contracts, not just cashing checks. And of course, Aaron, I am so happy that you were on with us with IDG Architects. Thank you for being a member and involved with the chamber as well. You guys are doing great things. Don't forget, next networking event is happening May 29th. That's next Thursday at Rutgers. I want to call it Rutgers Sports Lounge, but it's actually Let's Chill and Grill right there on Torrance Avenue. And I'll put the information into the show notes so that you guys can take a look at it, drop it in your GPS, and we can get it moving, get it cracking. All right. So follow us on YouTube, Wake Up Show Chicago, subscribe for exclusive content. And of course, join us right back here next Saturday at 9 a.m. on WVON 1690. Have a happy Memorial Day, and I'll be back on the air Tuesday. Bye-bye for now.
Get ready to wake up to the pulse of progress as we amplify voices, break barriers, and illuminate the path towards a more inclusive tomorrow. Follow us across the socials at The Wake Up Show Chicago. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. It's The Wake Up Show every Saturday morning at 9, where change begins with every sunrise.
Welcome to The Wake Up Show Chicago.
That's the end?
The talk of Chicago is 1690 WVON, Sherwin, Chicago.
Not everyone who handles your personal information is as careful as you are, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the United States. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock will monitor hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity And if your identity's stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com. LifeLock, for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could